Early morning. The air felt heavy, as if something unseen was waiting in the silence. At that very moment, an unusual call came to the Forest Range office. A woodcutter, his voice trembling, said, "There's a strange roar coming from the deep jungle. Not like a normal tiger. Something is in pain. Someone needs help." The officers exchanged confused looks. Roaring is normal in a jungle, but a roar that scares a grown man, that was different. The rescue team didn't waste time. They gathered ropes, pulleys, cutting tools, stretchers, and tranquilizers, and headed toward the forest's darkest side. The path quickly disappeared. The vehicle could go no farther. The real jungle had begun. The soil was thick and slippery, the kind where your foot sinks halfway with every step. Fallen trees blocked the way. Thorns snagged their clothes. The deeper they went, the darker it became. Soon, they noticed something on the ground, a paw print so large it looked unreal. A tiger's print, but deeper, wider, heavier than anything they had seen before. This was no ordinary animal. This was a giant. They kept walking. The forest grew more silent. No birds, no insects, just heavy stillness. And then, a roar tore through the forest, not angry, not threatening. It was the sound of a creature crying in agony. Everyone froze. Pushing through thick bushes, they finally reached a clearing. And there he was, a massive male tiger, so huge it looked unreal, half buried in thick mud. One of his back legs was pinned under a fallen tree trunk. Every time he tried to move, the mud swallowed him deeper. His breathing was fast and shallow. His eyes were filled with fear and confusion. Even the king of the jungle looked helpless today. Had the team been a few hours late, he would have been completely gone beneath the mud. The tiger sensed the team's presence. His ears rose. His eyes widened. He let out a deep, broken roar, not to attack, but because he was terrified. The ground around him was unstable. One wrong vibration, and the rest of the loose soil could collapse on top of him. A broken tree branch above his head hung dangerously, about to fall at any second. The team knew this rescue would be one of the hardest they had ever attempted. They studied the situation carefully. The plan was complicated. First, the fallen tree pinning his leg had to be cut away. Then, they needed to slide strong ropes beneath his body, which meant entering the mud. A pulley system had to be built to drag the tiger out safely. And all of this had to be done without the tiger panicking and hurting himself. The biggest challenge, the mud around the tiger was like quicksand. The more he moved, the deeper he sank. And the team only had minutes, not hours. For rescuers stepped into the mud. It swallowed their boots instantly. They pushed through the thick muck and reached the tiger's side. The tiger's eyes followed them, confused, scared, struggling to understand what these humans were doing. One rescuer dug around the tiger to create space for the ropes. Another prepared the saw to cut the fallen tree. Others tightened the ropes on the dry ground, ready to pull. The saw touched the wood. Each cut made the tiger flinch. He didn't know they were trying to save him. Finally, after minutes that felt like hours, the broken tree freed his trapped leg. But the moment the weight lifted, the tiger's body sank deeper into the mud. The real battle had just begun. The ropes kept slipping. The mud was too soft. The more they pulled, the more the ground gave way. The giant tiger lifted his head, trying desperately to breathe. Mud slid down his face. His strength was fading, their boots sliding, their arms shaking. They pulled. One rescuer slipped into the mud. Another yelled in pain as the rope burned his hands. The ropes stretched so tight they could snap at any moment. But finally, the tiger's head rose out of the mud. Then his shoulders. Then his massive chest. Inches became feet. Feet became freedom. And with one final, desperate pull, the enormous tiger slid out of the deadly mud trap. They carried him to a safe, dry patch of ground. His breathing steadied. His eyes slowly closed. The team worked for hours to clean him, check his wounds, and get him ready for transport. For days later, the giant tiger recovered fully. He was taken back to the edge of the forest and released into the wild. He walked a few steps, paused, turned his head, and looked back at the people who saved him. In his eyes, there was something, recognition, gratitude, relief. And then, the king disappeared into the trees, lost in the same silence where the story began. Nature is more than danger. It is balance, life, respect, and compassion. That day, a rescue team didn't just save a tiger, they protected the soul of the jungle.